Hello, my name is Rodolfo de Hoyos. How are you? Thanks for visiting. I'm with Home Solutions, and for the last 5 years, I've been investigating banks on bank fraud, civil procedure, and legal aspects of how to bring actions and defenses for homeowners against banks. As a disclaimer, I'm not an attorney, and so subsequently, this information is free. It's available to you at our website at www.stopforeclosure.la. Now, what I found out over the last 5 years in the progression of these fraud closures, as they like to call them now, is that the banks do not have any legal standing. When I say banks, the servicing companies, LPS, Recon Trust Company, all these various different servicing companies are alleging to have the rights to foreclose. So, in order to avoid the foreclosure, one must be as educated as the banking industry is on the rules of foreclosure and do they have legal standing. So, simply what you can do is do what the requirement under the contract states is that you have a right to an accounting, and you can demand that right simply by a qualified written request, which is a federal mandate that the bank must comply with within 30 days, have acknowledgement of receipt within 20 days, and then once they default on that qualified written request, you have what's called a breach of contract by the bank. And so, as a result of a breach of contract, you can bring an action against them and make a non judicial action a judicial one. And so, you can check with your attorney, and or if you would like some information on a referral for an attorney, we'd be happy to help you out there too. But what's really important to recognize here is understanding the rules of the game. The rules of the game are simply this: the banks wrote the rules. You got into a game with the bank, but you didn't know the rules. You, under the Fair Business Professions Code, thought that they were going to be legitimate and do business fair and just. Well, we know that that's not the truth. So, what you have to do now is have more information and be educated as to what standing that you have to take action against the lender to force them to come to the table to negotiate on your demand. Now, they ask you to submit and apply for a modification. Well, a modification is simply an unjust enrichment that benefits only the bank, because to submit and apply means to yield and beg. And you can no longer be an equal party to a contract if you're yielding and begging. I'm sure you agree with that. So, what do? You make a demand on them under the federal law, have them breach their contract, and now you have standing and make that action a judicial one. Further to that, you can add what's called a securitized audit. That securitization audit will do one of two things. It will explain the process whereby the banks transferred the notes into the securitized pool. The pool has no authority to foreclose once they had a true sale, if they had a true sale. Now, they have to have a true sale in order to perfect that lien. And if they didn't perfect the lien, now you have standing in order to say they don't have a right to foreclose on a debt obligation they no longer have an interest in, because that when it was transferred into the trust, the trustee has all rights and interest transferred into them, and any subsequent trustee prior to that no longer has any authority. And so subsequently, the servicer acting on behalf of the investor cannot. The investor has to bring the action if in the event there was, and in fact, a default. And we know with all these credit default swaps and the insurances and the bailouts that's gone on, that these loans have already been satisfied. The debt's obligations have been covered. So there's not double jeopardy to the borrower. There's no way. The banks never ever had any loss. They've been made whole. And so now, through the securitization audit, you'll be able to prove beyond reasonable, no, excuse me, with the preponderance of the evidence, with the facts, documentation, that when you have the claim against the lender, that you'll have evidence. The bank will not be able to refute the material fact evidence that you brought before the court, and the court must rule in your favor. If it's a just court, of course, we know that the courts are just as corrupt as the day is long. So it is a crapshoot when you come up before a corrupt judge, but then you can appeal. And so what we found out is that the banks are settling. In 5 years, there hasn't been one case that's gone to jury trial. And there's literally been millions of homeowners foreclosed on. So if you're one of those homeowners that are in the process of being foreclosed or even upside down, you don't even have to be late. And they ask you to be late in order to modify your loan. No, you have a right to that accounting. And if you get a securitization audit, it'll prove that they no longer have legal standing to that debt. So understand that once you have the material fact evidence and you bring an action against the lender, either in pro per and or by way of an attorney that we can actually refer you to. So just understand, play by the rules. The rules are just as powerful for you as they are for them. So understand and know the rules on how to defend yourself and take action against the lender. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact me at 888-255-9999 or go to our website at www.stopforeclosure.la. Thank you.